Have you ever thought how Newton's third law of motion could possibly apply to personal growth? It sounds far-fetched, doesn't it? But let's dive into it. Newton's third law of motion states that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This principle is true whether we're talking about a spaceship soaring through the cosmos or a person trying to better themselves. In the realm of personal growth, this law manifests as the impact of our actions, or lack thereof, on our progress. Every step we take, every decision we make, sets off a series of reactions that shape our journey. Now imagine these actions as energy. We're all carrying around a certain amount of it. But here's the kicker. Not all of this energy is helpful. Some of it is excess, a surplus that doesn't serve us but instead keeps us stuck in our current state. Picture it like this. You're in a hot air balloon, trying to rise higher. But there's this unnecessary weight holding you down. That's your excess energy. It's those unresolved issues, those unprocessed emotions, those unhelpful habits. They're like sandbags tethering you to the ground. And just as you'd need to toss out the sandbags to ascend higher in a hot air balloon in life, you need to shed this excess energy to move forward. It's not easy, of course. It requires work, often hard emotional work, but it's necessary. The key takeaway here is understanding that improvement doesn't come from acquiring more knowledge, more skills, or more resources. Instead, it's about letting go. It's about releasing what's not serving you, so you have the space and the energy to embrace what will. Remember, Newton's third law isn't just about action and reaction, it's about balance. It's about understanding that to take a step forward, we sometimes need to take a step back and reassess what we're carrying with us. To move forward, we must lighten our load by removing this excess energy. So are you ready to toss out those sandbags? Now, what exactly is this excess energy we're talking about? Well, imagine you're a hot air balloon, ready to ascend into the vast open sky, but you find yourself stuck, grounded. Why? Because of the sandbags tied to your basket. They're heavy, they're pulling you down. Now, these sandbags are metaphors for what we call excess energy. So what does excess energy look like in our lives? It's those nagging fears that keep us up at night, the self-doubt that whispers we're not good enough, the guilt that tugs at our conscience every time we think about pursuing our dreams. It's the resentment we harbor, the regret we hold on to, and the negative beliefs we've internalized about ourselves and the world around us. These energies, my friends, are excess. They're surplus to our needs, and they don't serve our higher purpose. In fact, they do quite the opposite. They create resistance. Imagine trying to swim upstream in a rapid river, the current pushing against you with all its might. That's what it's like trying to change and grow when we're laden with excess energy. Every step towards our goals, every attempt at personal growth feels like a battle, an uphill struggle. You see, excess energy isn't just excess, it's excess baggage. It's the weight we carry around that slows us down, that keeps us from moving forward, from reaching our potential. It's the chains that bind us to our past, to our fears, to our limitations. However, it's important to remember that just like the sandbags, this excess energy isn't a permanent part of us. It's something we can let go of, something we can release to lighten our load and set ourselves free. It's like untying those sandbags and watching them fall away, one by one, as you begin to rise, slowly at first, then faster and faster, until you're soaring high above the ground, free and unencumbered. Excess energy is the weight we carry that slows down our journey to personal growth. So, how do we go about removing this excess energy? Well, it's a journey, but one that's well worth embarking on. Let's break it down into manageable steps. The first step is self-awareness. It's about recognizing that you're carrying around this excess energy. It's like noticing that you've been wearing a heavy backpack all day. You've grown so used to the weight that you've forgotten it's there. But once you're aware of it, you can do something about it. Next, acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean you're okay with staying where you are. Quite the opposite, it means acknowledging where you are right now without judgment. It's looking at that heavy backpack and saying, yes, it's there. And yes, it's heavy, but it's not a part of me. It's an important step because it separates you from the energy that's holding you back. Now we come to releasing negative emotions. This is the part where you start to unzip that backpack and take a look at what's inside. It could be anything from fear to resentment to guilt. These emotions are like stones, each one adding to the weight you're carrying. And just like stones, they serve no purpose in your journey towards personal growth. So let them go. Release them. It's not always easy, but it's necessary. Then, you replace them with positive emotions. This is like replacing the stones in your backpack with feathers. They're still there, but they're light, they're uplifting. They don't weigh you down, they lift you up. These could be feelings of joy, love, gratitude, and peace. They're the fuel that powers your journey forward. And finally, you keep going. Personal growth isn't a destination, it's a journey. It's not about reaching a point where you're done. It's about continually striving to be the best version of yourself. And that means constantly checking in with yourself, recognizing when you're accumulating excess energy, and taking steps to release it. It's important to remember that this is not a one-size-fits-all process. Everyone's journey is unique, and what works for one person may not work for another. But the principles remain the same. Self-awareness, acceptance, releasing negative emotions, replacing them with positive ones, and continually striving for personal growth. This is the process of removing excess energy. And remember, you're not alone. We're all on this journey together. We all carry excess energy in one form or another, but together we can lighten our loads and make our journeys a little easier. Each step we take to remove excess energy brings us one step closer to personal growth. And each step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. So let's celebrate those victories, let's celebrate our progress, and let's celebrate our journey towards becoming the best versions of ourselves. Why is removing excess energy so important for personal growth? This is a question that reveals the vital connection between our energy levels and our capacity for personal development. When we talk about removing excess energy, we are referring to eliminating the unnecessary burdens and distractions that are holding us back. These could be unproductive habits, toxic relationships, or even negative self-talk. By letting go of these energy drainers, we give ourselves the freedom to focus on what truly matters in our journey towards personal growth. One major benefit of this process is increased motivation. When we're not weighed down by excess energy, we find ourselves with a renewed sense of purpose and drive. We're able to set our sights on our goals and pursue them with vigor and determination. Instead of being overwhelmed by the enormity of our dreams, we're invigorated by the challenge they present. Another crucial advantage is clarity. By eliminating excess energy, we're able to see our path more clearly. We can identify the steps we need to take, the skills we need to acquire, and the people we want to surround ourselves with. We're no longer distracted by the noise of unnecessary burdens, but rather, we're guided by the clear sound of our own ambition. Lastly, removing excess energy fosters resilience. When we're not constantly drained by unnecessary distractions, we're better equipped to handle the inevitable setbacks and challenges that come our way. We can bounce back from adversity with greater ease, viewing each obstacle as an opportunity for growth rather than a setback. In essence, removing excess energy is akin to pruning a tree. It may seem counterintuitive to cut away parts of something you want to grow, but it is through this process of elimination that we allow for new, healthier growth. It is through this process that we make room for motivation, clarity, and resilience to flourish. By removing excess energy, we create space for growth and progress in our lives. And in this space, we find the freedom to become the best versions of ourselves. In conclusion, Newton's third law isn't just about physics. It's fundamentally about balance, about equal and opposite reactions. But in our lives, we can leverage this principle to foster personal growth. We've explored how carrying excess energy, be it emotional baggage or unproductive habits, can hold us back. This surplus energy acts as a force, keeping us stuck in our current state. To move forward, we must lighten our load, removing this excess energy bit by bit. This process won't happen overnight. It requires persistent effort, small actions that gradually lead to significant changes. But the payoff is immense. By shedding off this surplus energy, we make it easier for ourselves to grow, to evolve, to move towards a better version of ourselves. Remember, every action you take towards removing excess energy is a step towards personal growth. Subscribe and comment below. Your thoughts are important to us. Until next time, keep growing.